Where we live, there are rainbows. Life in the laughter of morning and starry nights. Where we live, there are rainbows and flowers full of colors and birds filled with song. We can smile when it's raining, touch the warmth of the sun. We hear children laughing in this place that we love. Where we live, there are rainbows, flowers full of colors and birds filled with song. We can smile when it's raining, touch the warmth of the sun. We hear children laughing in this place that we love. Where we live, there are rainbows, with life in the laughter of morning and starry nights.
There you go, brother.
Aloha mai kako. Here's a song written by a 16-year-old boy, I believe it was sometime in the 80s, but how he felt about this place called Hawaii. If I could be the ocean, embracing all the land, if I could be the sunlight, oh, that dries up all the sand, if I could be the lava, oh, that flows down from the sea, then I'd be the one they would call Hawaii. Hawaii. If I could be a guitar, well, I'd play Hawaiian songs. If I could do the hula, you know I'd do it all day long. If I could be a core canoe, I'd ride the deep blue sea. Then I would be the one they would call Hawaii. Hawaii. If I could be the flowers, will I turn into a lake? If I could be a rainbow, oh, I'd make a brighter day. If I could be a mountain rising high above the sea, then I'd be the one they would call Hawaii. Mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha kako. Thank you, all of you, for joining us this evening as we recognize the recipients of Historic Hawaii Foundation's 2021 Preservation Honor Awards. I am your guide to the awards, Peter Uppo, along with my co-host, Mr. Brickwood Galataria.
Thank you, Peter. Aloha kako. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, this year's awards ceremony is taking place virtually. We're broadcasting from the stage of the Hawaii Theater in Honolulu's historic Chinatown. Historic Hawaii Foundation thanks the technology partners who make tonight's event possible. In addition to being broadcast via YouTube, you may also watch it via Facebook and Hawaii Theater's website. A recording will also be available at thehistorichawaii.org and hawaiitheater.com.
Our best wishes for health, well-being, and safety go out to our entire community, and especially to those who would normally be gathering to celebrate these awards for saving Hawaii's historic places. We hope you enjoyed the program from the comfort of your home and with loved ones. Despite the physical distance, we are together in spirit. Please welcome Historic Hawaii Foundation's past president, Mr. Scott Meidel.
Mahalo, Brickwood and Peter. And mahalo to the Hawaii Theater Center for hosting us for this socially distant, public health conscious event. We are grateful to our partners and to the technology that allows us to continue to celebrate and gather virtually, even in these times when in-person meeting is still restricted. Over the past year, we have all learned new ways to connect. Our usual ways of celebrating and collaborating have given way to new ways to socialize and connect with one another. One example of that is the audience of virtual fans who are visible behind me. Mahalo to the sponsors who are good sports and wanted to show their support through having some kind of physical presence, even though we weren't allowed to have more than a handful of people with us here in the theater. We also thank you, our remote audience that is watching from afar, probably from the comfort of your home or office. We wish all of you good health and safety. Be sure to raise a toast this evening to your favorite honorees as you learn more about the amazing preservation work being done across our islands. Most importantly, I want to thank and congratulate the honorees who are being celebrated tonight. People thrive when they have a solid foundation that provides for strong, resilient communities. These community bonds will enable us to come back stronger as we face both new stresses and ongoing challenges. Part of community resilience comes from working together on projects that honor, educate, and preserve historic places. These are the very pillars of our community identity. Historic Hawaii Foundation marked its 47th anniversary last month. Started in 1975, the Preservation Honor Awards are our organization's longest-running program. Annually, we showcase the depth and strength of efforts to perpetuate and share these historic places from our islands. We truly appreciate all of the work being celebrated this evening and the many people who have made this event possible. I would like to start by recognizing our event planning committee. Members are Wayne Gu, Beth Iwata, Michelle Kazek, Cheyenne Martinez-Boyette, Wendy McAllister, Tonya Moy, and Christine Rutola. We're also very grateful to our event sponsors. The platinum level sponsors are Dawson, Kekai Ukololia, Surf and Sea. The gold level sponsors are G70, Hawaiian Electric, PBR Hawaii, and WCIT Architecture, and Haleakala Ranch. The silver sponsors, Aina Archaeology, Austin Tsutsumi and Associates, Bank of Hawaii, Friends of Iolani Palace, Fung Associates, Goodfellow Brothers, HHF Planners, the Maui Architectural Group, and St. Louis School. A big mahalo to all sponsors, and we extend our gratitude to other contributors whose financial donations support the important preservation programs of Historic Hawaii Foundation. Please see the full list of sponsors in the special souvenir event program, which may be downloaded from the Historic Hawaii Foundation website. We will also have messages of aloha from the sponsors throughout tonight's program. Thank you to our most excellent tech partners, 808 Video Productions and Ha-Ka Entertainment, and to Robin Lung for her video production. We extend a special mahalo to the volunteers, staff, and patrons of the Hawaii Theater. This magnificent landmark is a past recipient of a Preservation Honor Award from Historic Hawaii Foundation for its outstanding rehabilitation. We are also proud to partner with the theater on a current project to restore the marquee sign and lighting. You can learn more about that project from the theater's website. Finally, before we move to the presentations, I want to acknowledge and thank the members of the awards selection committee. Now, this is a group of preservation experts that has the responsibility to review the nominations, consider the criteria, and select the honorees. The committee is comprised of professionals in the fields of architecture, history, preservation, planning, landscape architecture, engineering, architectural history, and Hawaiian culture. Members of the award selection committee are Pat Griffin, Don Chang, Allison Chiu, Linda Chiu, Gary Coover, Donnie Dawson, Phil Dieters, Hal Hammett, Alan Ho, Kekoa Kaluhiva, Jim Neese, Christine Rutola, Katie Stevens, and Adrian Turlick. Mahalo to all of you for your dedication and meticulous work. I'll now turn the program back to Peter and Brickwood. Mahalo.
Mahalo to you, Scott. Tonight we are presenting 13 awards in several categories. Between each category, we will recognize Kama'aina organizations, companies, and places that have reached milestone anniversaries. After the presentations, Chris Hong of Hawaii Architectural Foundation will present the Paepae Ika Pōhaku Award.
You can learn more about all the honorees in more detail through profiles and articles at the historichawaii.org. A souvenir program is also available to download from the website. Now, the criteria used to evaluate each nomination are that the activity is relevant to preserving a historic property, the project or program applied preservation standards and practices, the activity achieves excellence, and the publication, person, project, or program serves as an example for others.
The first category is Achievements in Interpretive Media. Honors in this category are awarded for a printed publication or visual presentation that interpreted the history, preservation, or physical characteristics of a historic building, object, site, or district. The Ho'okauliki interpretive signage, the dynasty of King Kamehameha I. This project created site markers to identify 8 specific locations on Hawaii Island that are culturally and historically significant through association with the life of Kamehameha the Great. The County of Hawaii launched the project to ensure the unique sense of place and the appropriate recognition of our host culture. A QR code on each sign provides translation of the narratives into multiple languages, enhancing the sign's usage and accessibility. Our first sponsor message comes from Dawson.
Everything that we do, small or large, is exactly what we all did today. Is this spirit of giving and volunteerism keeps the canoe going for her next 100,000 miles and beyond.
The Music of Kalaupapa concert was produced by Ka'ohana o Kalaupapa under the direction of Valerie Monson as a live stream concert to showcase the music composed by the residents of the Kalaupapa leprosy, now known as Hansen's disease, settlement after being exiled to the remote colony. The Music of Kalaupapa featured performances by some of Hawaii's recognized artists who have a connection to the site. Brother Nolan, Melvin Lead, Makana, Stephen Inglis, Kevin Brown, and Lopaka Ho'opi'i, performing the music of the Aikala brothers, Ernest Kala, Helen Kiau, Samson Kuahine, George McLean, Bernard Punikaia, and the Boys of Kalawao. An accompanying narrative shared the history of each composition to help show how music served as a source of healing and bonding for the isolated community. The virtual concert first debuted in 2020 to help raise funds for the Kalaupapa Memorial and is now available for viewing at Ka'ohana o Kalaupapa's website, www.kalaupapaohana.org.
The Merwin Conservancy, the Sitting Room, Threshold, and Garden of Verses virtual programs were produced in response to the shutdown of in-person gatherings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Merwin Conservancy devised 2 virtual programs that welcome the public to engage with Poet Laureate W.S. Merwin's residence and garden in Haiku, Maui. Threshold, a meditative video created by artists duo Susanna Saylor and Edward Morris, offers a virtual space of sanctuary in a time of crisis. The video captures the energies of stillness, restoration, and the natural world found inside W.S. Merwin's dojo, his place for meditation. The second virtual program, The Garden of Verses, was a celebration of Merwin's birthday and featured a tour of the home and garden along with readings of his poetry read by guest artists. Together, the program served to document the site at a specific point in time while building awareness of its architectural and natural features.
Our first anniversary recognitions are for centennial organizations. The combine of businesses, landmarks, and institutions celebrating 100 years are Alawai Canal, a human-made waterway in Honolulu which serves as the northern boundary of Waikiki. Construction to drain the rice paddies and swamps in the area, a key step in the development of Waikiki as a premier tourist area, was completed during 1921 through 28. Anahulu Stream Bridge was designed by engineer Fred Ort and architect Guy Rothwell. It was built in 1921 to carry Kamehameha Highway over Anahulu Stream. It's the most widely photographed landmark in Haleiwa and serves as the gateway to the historic town on Oahu's North Shore. Diamond Bakery started off as a dream between friends and has grown to become a household name in Hawaii. The company was founded in 1921 by 3 Japanese immigrants, Hidegoro Murai, Kiko Taro Hiruya, and Natsu Muramoto, who all enjoyed baking and shared a vision to create the perfect Hawaiian-made cracker. They named the bakery Diamond after the iconic Diamond Head crater on Oahu. Goodfellows Brothers Incorporated was started in 1921 by the 3 Goodfellow brothers, Jack, Bert, and Jim Sr. The civil contractor is now a 4th-generation family-owned firm with more than 1,000 employees and 12 offices on Maui and in Washington, Oregon, and California. Hawaiian Electric Maui, the current name of the company that has provided power to Maui for 100 years. Maui Electric Company started in 1921 and eventually grew to include Hana Light and Power, Lahaina Light and Power, Lanai City Power, and Molokai Electric Company. Now part of Hawaiian Electric, Maui still keeps the lights on for the Maui Nui. HPM Building Supply is a legacy of Japanese carpenter Kametaro Fujimoto, who founded Hawaii Planing Mill in the town of Hilo. Despite earlier setbacks such as damage to the facility in both the 1946 and 1960 tsunamis, the small lumber mill eventually grew into a statewide building partner and a fifth-generation legacy business with hundreds of employees. In 1921, Suichi and Taneo Fujiwara opened Shunchoro Tea House. Suichi, who had lost the restaurant to the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and was on his way back to Japan when he stopped in Honolulu, fell in love with Hawaii and purchased the Alewa Heights property where Natsunoya Tea House stands today. After his father's death, Fujiwara's son Lawrence took over management and the establishment and renamed it Natsunoya. They continue to welcome customers to the only remaining tea house on Oahu where the authentic atmosphere and fare live on. Nishoro Candy Store is a small mochi shop in Kalihi Warehouse that has crafted its locally famous Japanese confections since the 1920s. Asataro Hirao left Hiroshima to work in Hawaii at the sugar plantations. On a subsequent visit to his hometown, Asataro learned how to make a soft, sweet confection made of mochiko, sweet rice flour known as chichidango. Ono. Today, great-grandson Michael Hirao continues a business with both the traditional recipes and some new ones. Old Maui High School Administration Building is built in the Spanish Mission Revival style and was designed by Charles W. Dickey, who was raised in Haiku. Dickey would go on to become a prominent local architect, credited with creating distinctive Hawaiian style of architecture. The building opened with great ceremony in December 1921, and became the school's emblem, its broad front steps the favorite place for yearbook pictures. Closed 50 years ago, when the new high school opened, the Friends of Old Maui High School worked to preserve the administration building and find a new use for the old campus. Rotary Club of Hilo was the second club established in the territory of Hawaii and has been a vital part of the Hilo community ever since. The club brings together a diverse group of businesses, community, and civic leaders doing great work for local and global communities and having a great time doing it. A few notable projects range from fostering Japan's re-entry to Rotary in 1949 to participating in the reforestation of native coal forests on Mauna Kea in 1997 and providing twice-weekly home-cooked meals for Hawaii Island Home for Recovery during COVID. S. Tokunaga Store was established in 1920 by Sumie Tokunaga, who immigrated from Japan to Hawaii Island to work on the sugar plantation. In August 31st, he opened a grocery and tackle shop in downtown Hilo. The tsunamis of 1946 and 1960 destroyed the store at its original bayfront location, but it was relocated and rebuilt several times. The Tokunagas maintain a strong sense of history and live by the creed, give a man a fish, feed him for the day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Territorial Savings Bank has come a long way from its humble beginnings in 1921, when 10 individuals came together to establish the Kaimuki Building and Loan Association. Committed to providing personal financial services to their customers and keeping in step with the community's needs, Territorial Savings Bank has grown to hold approximately $2 billion in assets and operate 29 branches on the islands of Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and Hawaii Island. And finally, Surf and Sea, the oldest surf shop and a Haleiwa landmark, is the only business located next to the beach. It has survived tsunamis and high surf since 1921, a testament to its excellent construction. Remnants of the old Oahu Railway and Land Company Railroad can still be found on the ocean side of the building. In the early 1930s, the Miura family operated a dry goods and tailor shop there and lived upstairs. The Ochiai family followed, with a grocery store until 1944. They lived upstairs, leaving a light on each night to serve as a lighthouse for the sampans that moored in Anahulu Stream. The Liskys opened Surf and Sea in late 1964. The shop is now owned and operated by Joe Green and his family and focuses on water sports. They are proud to be recognized as the longest-running surf shop in Hawaii.
Aloha! Welcome to Surf and Sea. I'm Joe Green, the owner since 1982. Come on in. Surf and Sea has been the caretaker of this building for over 50 years. We are very thankful to have Historic Hawai Foundation recognize the Surf and Sea building and Haleiwa's Honolulu Bridge as both being 100 years old this year, 2021. And we hope to preserve this historic building for the community for many years to come.
The category of individual achievement recognizes both volunteers and professionals who are leaders in preserving places significant to Hawaii's history. Carlos Andrade. Carlos is recognized for his research and efforts to preserve the history, mo'olelo, and places of Haena, Kauai. His passion for music led him to songwriting, capturing Haena's history in songs such as Limahuli. After serving as a crew member aboard Hokulea, Andrade returned to teach courses about Native Hawaiian navigation, astronomy, geography, and culture as an associate professor at Kamakakua Okalani Center for Hawaiian Studies and Hawaii Nui Akea School of Hawaiian Knowledge at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Perhaps the culmination of his career is the book Haena, Through the Eyes of Ancestors, in which Andrade employs mo'olelo, geography, history, and ethnography to capture the history of Haena from earliest times to the present, primarily related from a Native Hawaiian perspective.
I had a chance to sail on Hokulea with Carlos. Yeah, good brother. Lynette Hi'ilani Cruz has been a strong and effective advocate for the preservation and maintenance of ancient Hawaiian places for most of her adult life. As a professor of cultural anthropology at Hawaii Pacific University, Lynette inspired hundreds of students to volunteer their services while learning about historic sites. Now retired, Cruz continues her advocacy through the nonprofit Kale Maile Ali'i that she organized to involve young people and community members in cultural service work at sites primarily on the island of Oahu.
Zita Kupchoi first became involved as a docent volunteer with the Friends of Iolani Palace in 1977 and then at Washington Place in 2000. Under the guidance of mentor Jim Bartels, Kupchoi became more deeply involved as a researcher and then was hired to lead docent training. She has a knack for recounting historical events with depth, accuracy, and objectivity, and has delivered a countless number of tours, presentations, and classes. Kupchoi has built an admirable legacy as both an educator and historian.
Zita is a spark plug. Christine Faya, gotta love it. She demonstrates a deep kuleana to research and preserve Kauai's history and historic places. She is a great-granddaughter of the founder of Kekaha Sugar Company, one of Hawaii's largest landholders of its time. As the executive director of Hui Olaka, Faya oversees the operations, maintenance, outreach programs of the Kokee Natural History Museum, Kokee Community Conservation Corps Camp, and the nature trail within the Kokee and Waimea Canyon State Parks. As an example of her industriousness during the pandemic showdown, Faya used the opportunity to redesign and refresh the museum's exhibits, utilizing her talent as an artist. Previously, Faya, and I love saying it, served as curator at Kauai Museum. She has established other museums and developed tours at several historic sites on Kauai.
Clifford Naole has unwavering commitment to the preservation of Hawaiian culture and history through both public and private service. As the Hawaiian Cultural Advisor for the Ritz-Carlton Kapolua for over 20 years, Naole has been a pioneer in the development of educational programs for visitor industry employees and guests on proper Hawaiian protocol, cultural traditions, and mo'olelo. He's also highly respected for his knowledge of Hawaiian language and history, and as an advocate for the preservation of burial sites and other sacred places. Now, in the late 1980s, Naoli played an instrumental role in the preservation of an unmarked burial site where an estimated 2,000 Naivi Kupuna bones are interred. The burials were discovered during an excavation of the resort property prior to construction, and Naoli helped negotiate the resort's relocation away from the site. Honokahua, a burial site, is now protected as a vahikapu and is listed on the Hawaii Register of Historic Places.
Our next anniversary recognition is for the Quasquicentennial. Quasquicentennial. What is that? That's an organization celebrating 125 years. Palama Settlement, Honolulu, Oahu, established in 1896. Palama Settlement is a nonprofit, community-based social service agency serving the Kalihi and Palama neighborhoods. Founded by James and Ragnar Rath, pioneers of social services in the islands, it was based on the premise that social workers could better serve their constituents if they lived among them. Today, Palama Settlement offers a wide range of educational, recreational, athletic, cultural, social, health, and community-building programs and services for all ages, aiming to partner with those who have the greatest needs in the community, empowering them to enhance their well-being through education, health, and recreation.
Two landmarks in Honolulu have reached 150 years. Iolani Barracks, which is also known as Halekoa, meaning House of Warriors, is a single-story structure built under the direction of King Kamehameha V. It is located directly adjacent to Iolani Palace in downtown Honolulu. It housed about 80 members of the Royal Guard until the overthrow of the monarchy in 1893. Designed by architect Theodore Hugh, it is rectangular in shape and contains an open courtyard surrounded by rooms once used by the guards as a mess hall, a kitchen, dispensary, a birth room, and lockup. It was originally located elsewhere on the palace grounds, but was moved to its present location when the state capitol next to it was constructed on the original site. Iolani Barracks has been used as temporary shelter for refugees of the 1899 Chinatown fire, headquarters for the National Guard of Hawaii, a service club, a government office building, and a storage facility. Today, it is home to the Palace gift shop and ticket office. The two-story Kamehameha V post office building was designed in a neoclassical style by J.G. Osborne and is the first building in Hawaii and the oldest in America to have been built of reinforced concrete. The building was shared by the post office, the Hawaiian Gazette, and other small companies that needed office space. In 1894, the post office took over the building and was the only tenant. In 1946, the district courts took up residence in the building, and a portion of the portico on Merchant Street was enclosed for more office space. It wasn't until 1993 that the Kamehameha V post office building was fully restored and renovated for theater usage when it became home to the Kumu Kahua Theater through present day.
Programmatic awards recognize advocacy, education, programmatic, or other preservation efforts, either for a specific site or through a broad-based program. Mother Waldron Playground Cultural Landscape Report is significant as a historic preservation treatment document and long-term management tool for Mother Waldron Playground, a historic urban recreational site in central Honolulu. The playground is associated with the philosophy of the early 20th century that held that children need organized play and safe playgrounds, especially in low-income and dense urban environments. A Depression-era public works project, the playground provided children of this neighborhood with safe, organized, and supervised recreation. The report established preservation goals for the playground's architectural and landscape goals that may serve as the basis for sound decision-making for the future of the site, as the park is stressed by new development proposals encroaching on the playground and by the planned adjacent elevated guideway of the Honolulu Rail Transit Project.
Haena State Park Master Plan. It is significant as a community-based plan that prioritizes the protection, rehabilitation, and restoration of Haena State Park's archaeological, cultural, and natural resources. Located on over 50 acres on Kauai's North Shore, Haena State Park's features include ancient agricultural settlements, heiau, streams, sand dunes, fishing areas, and wet caves. It also serves as the trailhead to the spectacular Napali Coast State Wilderness Park. In respect of community members' ancestral connections to the land, the plan prioritizes community access to Haena State Park and its cultural and natural resources by limiting the number of park visitors through adaptive management. Community and cultural advisory groups have been given responsibility to help oversee park access and its significant resources. The plan demonstrates the State of Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources' commitment to the preservation of historic and resources with community involvement.
The next anniversary recognition is for 175 years. St. Louis School, located at Pōhaku in the neighborhood of Kaimuki in Honolulu, is a historic Roman Catholic college, a preparatory school for boys. It was founded in 1846 to serve the needs of early Hawaiian Catholics in the Kingdom of Hawaii. Established within the Roman Catholic Diocese of Honolulu, it is affiliated with the Society of Mary, a religious order of brothers and priests called the Marianists. The school's mission is to educate and challenge students that they may achieve a quality education and become gentlemen of character, reaching individual potential through the Catholic Marianist tradition of spiritual, academic, physical, and emotional maturity.
The Project Award category recognizes specific projects that preserved, rehabilitated, or restored a historic property. The restoration of two historic cottages, the Allerton Caretaker's Cottage and the Montgomery House, within Haena State Park are integral components of the implementation of the master plan for the park. The Allerton Caretaker's Cottage was restored for use by the park's rangers and for cultural practitioners at the Ka'ulu o Pa'oa Heiau and the Ke'ahu Alaka Hula platform. The Montgomery House was restored for multiple purposes, including educational programs, park staff, and community volunteers who maintained the traditional lo'ikalo at Haena. Despite the challenges of the deteriorated condition of both structures and the remote location, along with the severe storm that closed roadways for an extended period in 2018, the Allerton Caretaker's Cottage and the Montgomery House were beautifully restored in accordance with national preservation standards. They now stand ready to support the needs of the park staff and community. Congratulations on this outstanding project. Now we have a word from Mayor of Kauai, Derek Kawakami.
Aloha, this is Mayor Derek Kawakami, and I'm so excited to participate in today's virtual Historic Preservation Honor Awards ceremony. I'm so sorry I could not zoom in live to be with you all, but thank you for the opportunity to share my remarks through this video. We are here to recognize and celebrate the excellent work of those preserving our historic places in Hawaii. As we honor the 13 preservation awardees and the 18 local organizations and companies celebrating major milestones this year, we reflect on the outstanding achievements which contribute to the reasons why we love Hawaii. I'm honored to present these 4 proclamations to our Kauai recipients, recognizing their incredible efforts, and I thank you all for the opportunity to express my gratitude and aloha for the work you do to preserve all of Hawaii, our island, our people, and our home. Mahalo.
The Kaniakapupu Site Protection Measures Project developed mitigation measures to prevent trespassing at Kaniakapupu, the ruins of Kamehameha III and Queen Kalama's summer palace. Situated in the cool uplands of Nu'uanu Valley, Kaniakapupu served as the King and Queen summer retreat after the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii moved from Lahaina to Honolulu in 1845. The palace had fallen into ruins by 1874. The project included installation of pathways, signage, and the felling of large trees that are considered threats to the historic structure and site features. Kapu signage was mounted near the entrance to indicate that the area is a restricted site regulated by the State Department of Land and Natural Resources, and access is available by permit only. Actual signage near the actual ruins explain the archaeological, historical, cultural significance of Kaniakapupu to prompt a sense of respect and to deter further loitering and damage to the ruins.
The restoration of the Palace Theater included repairs to the stucco and wood facade, repairing rot on the doors, painting the facade and trim, replacing the awning, and installing new neon for the signature marquee sign. The project also addressed interior needs for the safety and comfort of patrons. Before replacing the air conditioning system, the palace upgraded electrical wiring and replaced the outdated fire safety system, eventually replacing all 600 of the 1930-era sprinkler heads. The projects were supported by 2 grants from Historic Hawaii Foundation, one through the Hilo Preservation and Beautification Program, and a second as a challenge grant through HHF's partnership with the Freeman Foundation. Wendy Peskin, president of the Palace Theater Board of Directors, said the challenge was met by major gifts from community members and generous theater patrons. As a community gathering place and iconic landmark, this outstanding restoration serves as a symbolic sign of rejuvenation for the people of Hilo.
Designing spaces to inspire, visually and spatially. This has always been our vision, and will be as we begin this new chapter.
Our last anniversary recognition is for the bicentennial anniversary of Kahale La'au, the 1821 frame house at Hawaiian Mission's houses. The frame house is one of the first wood frame structures and the oldest still standing in the Hawaiian Islands. It was shipped around Cape Horn from Boston in 1820. It was used as a communal home by many missionary families who shared the facility with island visitors and boarders. Architecturally, it has a simple and straightforward design. The relatively low ceilings and basement are strong evidence of its New England concept, foreign to the temperate climate of Honolulu. Today, the house serves as a living history museum to help visitors envision this monumental period in Hawaiian history. Congratulations to all of the honorees for your outstanding work in telling the stories of Hawaii's people, events, and places through preservation of significant sites and historic places. Now you can learn more about all of the honorees in more detailed profiles and articles at historichawaii.org.
Before we begin our final presentation, we'd like to pause for a moment and call upon Pat Griffin, who chaired the awards selection committee. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you, Peter and Brickwood. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Are you inspired? I know that you're here because you believe in historic preservation or you love and support someone who does. As we work to preserve and protect our places that tell us about who we are and where we've come from, it's easy occasionally to fret about the losses. Tonight, this event flips that narrative. It gives us a chance to celebrate success. I've served as president of this committee for some years now. It's the committee members are committed, and they bring excellence, they bring expertise, and they bring talent to the discussion. Occasionally, robust discussion, but always loving. It's a pleasure to be part of them. This year has been unusual in having unanimity of the awardees that you have just seen. As Scott said a little while ago, the awards have been given by Historic Hawai Foundation since 1975. They recognize people, organizations, and businesses who've achieved excellence in their project efforts. This year has been tough as people have worked through the handicaps that the pandemic has wrought. So it's particularly a pleasure to be able to say hats off to our awardees. And in solidarity with Mayor Kawakami, I would like to say a special congratulations to our Kauai recipients. Congratulations also to our milestone anniversaries. And especially to you, Kiersten, I want to give 1,000 thanks on behalf of the committee for elevating the Historic Hawai Foundation to become a preservation force to be reckoned with. Thank you.
Mahalo, Pat. Thank you. Historic Hawai Foundation plays such an important role in sharing Hawaii's significant places and advocating, being the voice and persevering through tough negotiations. I know times are tough, but I'd like to make a special appeal to our audience. If you are able to make a small donation, please go to historichawaii.org and click on the green Donate Now button. For $50, you can become an HHF member and help preserve Hawaii's historic places for today, for the future, and particularly for our keiki. Brickwood, are you a member?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, time to open your heart and your wallet and support this important cause.
Got it. That's right, Peter. I can't agree with you more. We encourage everyone to pitch in and kokua Historic Hawaii. Now it's time for our final presentation, Hawaii's Architectural Foundation's Paepae i ka Pōhaku Award.
The Paepae i ka Pōhaku Award was established at the Hawaii Architectural Foundation to honor people in the community, non-architects, who are supporters of a good built environment. And Kiersten, through the Historic Hawai Foundation, certainly exemplifies that.
You know, it's rare to find someone who really excels at what they do and at the same time is equally as passionate about the cause that she supports and the mission. And that's what Kiersten does and brings to the table.
We help people save historic places. Every place has a story. Every person has a place that matters to them. And what we try to do is put those things together. What are the places that tell all of Hawaii's stories, the people who formed them, who live here, who use them, and how can they be relevant to the future? So we help people save those places, know them, love them, enjoy them, and take care of them.
She has a deep and abiding heart for places of antiquity. And she understands all the different cultures, not just Hawaiian culture, and tries to help people appreciate the richness of the cultures that we live among. So I don't know how she does it, but she does it very well. It's because she has that heart for historic preservation.
I think she sees the potential of Hawaii to be a model in the Pacific of how we go about not only preserving our spaces, but engaging and helping others to engage in the preservation, in the storytelling of our places.
We were on a national search for a new executive director, and I had noticed, particularly noticed this application from Denver, Colorado. She was a city planner, and she had a lot of experience with historic preservation, public policy. The organization at the time was really struggling, financially. And in my opinion, she almost single-handedly brought it back through her brilliant leadership and her ability to communicate with people and to draw support.
She has worked very hard to build up the Historic Hawaii Foundation, and she's taken it from a relatively small, unknown entity to a very well-respected, well-known advocacy group today.
Historic Hawaii has become the de facto defender of preservation in Hawaii. There are huge economic pressures in Hawaii. That kind of pressure is always going to exist. But I think you have to fight for visual markers and cultural markers.
It is not enough to write it down in books and to have pictures. When we lose our physical history, our buildings, our spaces, our historic sites, we lose our reflection in the waters of time. We lose our memories. Were it not for a historic preservation, effort, the Royal Hawaiian Hotel and the Natatorium would both be gone. Two Waikiki icons.
An iconic landmark on Oahu for more than 90 years, the Waikiki Natatorium War Memorial was built to honor those from Hawaii who served and died in World War I. The pool and bleachers have been closed for more than a generation due to neglect and decay. A new plan has surfaced to restore the structure, but at significant cost. Some say it's worth it, others disagree. What do you think?
When we talk about what are the values that we are trying to aspire to, it's not just about the cost. It's also about who are we as a community, who are we as a people, and what does that look like. So I'm interested in seeing what happens next. Restoring and taking care of a war memorial, I think, will attract a great deal of attention from across the world.
When she believes that a particular place requires our attention, she will do her research, she will get people around that cause, and she will advocate to preserve that space. So her perseverance is remarkable.
Another project that Historic Hawaii Foundation has been involved in is the Hawaii Medical Library, and was close to being demolished and turned into a parking lot. After Historic Hawaii Foundation put it on its most endangered places list, community action was taken, and ultimately the medical library was saved, and it currently sits on the Queens Medical Center campus.
The ability of Historic Hawaii to give grants, to give people seed money to help preserve things is actually huge. There's no other organization that does that, none.
Kiersten has been pivotal in keeping alive the collective community memory of the places that we've moved through every day throughout the state of Hawaii. Through her organization, Historic Hawaii Foundation, she has helped make it important to government officials, to lawmakers, to community leaders, and even businessmen. They want to develop a property. What she tries to do is advise them early on. There's something important about that property and its history, and if they plan around that historical aspect, they will have a better, richer project.
Kiersten and staff have been making it a point to, do seminars, to do site visits, and to really try to grow outreach in island communities.
This is part of an occasional series that Historic Hawai Foundation is doing to help historic homeowners.
If we didn't have somebody like Kiersten as our strongest champion for historic preservation, we would lose that connection with our Aina, with our roots.
So it's important to identify stories and histories and connect people to those sites so that they have a deeper understanding, a deeper appreciation, and eventually a sense of responsibility of Kuleana, that they will then take care of it going forward.
With her at the helm of Historic Hawai Foundation, I am just very confident that this place, my home, our home, will always be in good hands.
That was beautiful. Here to present the award is Chris Hong, president of the Hawaii Architectural Foundation. Chris?
Thank you, Brickwood. Aloha. The Hawaii Architectural Foundation is pleased to recognize Kiersten Faulkner, the Executive Director of Historic Hawai Foundation, as its 2021 Paepae Pōhaku Award recipient. The award, given only to non-architects, recognizes Kiersten for her sustained efforts to raise community awareness of architectural design and the importance of the built environment. Kiersten's impact as an advocate for the preservation of our culture and historic buildings is immeasurable. Since assuming leadership of HHF in 2006, Kiersten has focused on reaching positive outcomes even in the face of adverse circumstances. Her commitment to thoughtful and sensitive design defines her contribution to preserving Hawaii's historic buildings and places. On behalf of the Hawaii Architectural Foundation, we want to say congratulations, Kiersten. Thank you for all that you've done and all that you continue to do.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for everyone who's here with us tonight. And I'd really like to give my appreciation to the Hawaii Architectural Foundation for honoring me with this amazing recognition. I extend my gratitude to the foundation, to their board of directors, and for the good work that you all do as well to promote good design and awareness of the importance of architecture, the built environment, and shaping communities. I also appreciate the kind words of the people who spoke in the video: Peter Apo, Mehealani Cipher, Maynette Benham, Ricky Ching, Glenn Mason. Each of them has been a guiding light on this journey. I've learned so much from each of you. Mahalo also to Robin Lung for her amazing videography and her gifts for weaving together a story. I think I can trace my awareness of historic places and placemaking to early family experiences. My mother often says how much she loves houses, especially old, quirky, eccentric houses with lots of character. She calls it the Goldilocks syndrome, after that fairy tale nosy child that broke into the Three Bears house just to poke around and see how other people live. Mom would often take us the long way around to go through slow drives through historic neighborhoods. Just look at those houses, look at those gardens, and just to appreciate the history, the beauty, and the people. We still take the long way around whenever we can. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I also want to thank the mentors and trainers. Sorry, I thought I wouldn't get emotional about this, but hey. Anyway, the people at the beginning of my career, especially when I started as a land use planner in Denver, they were incredibly generous and patient as they helped shape my perceptions on the importance of place, of neighborhoods, and community. Some of them are watching tonight, so I want to say thank you to Carla, Chris, Kathleen, Dennis, Teresa, Harriet, Ellen, Jennifer, Steve, Tyler, Karen, so many others. Really shaping that beginning of my career has made such a difference, and I thank you for that. When I was privileged to be accepted as Historic Hawai Foundation's executive director 15 years ago, I was again the beneficiary of so much love, so much support, so much aloha. In those earliest years, I would follow people around, asking them to tell me their places, tell me their stories. And they took me on field trips. They shared not just the genealogy of people, but the genealogy of place. One of the images in the video was from one of those field trips to Lanai City with Alberta Jatley, Rick Towell, Uncle Squeaky. We walked around Dole Park and looked at every building surrounding that central park. Uncle would tell me the story of each building and the people who lived there and the people who built it and why they did it. That one is a coffee shop now, but it used to be the Hawaiian Airlines ticket counter. And before that, it was the forestry office where you can get a hunting license, and so on and so on and so on. Those stories have a life history, not only of the buildings, but of the town, the people who come together. That experience was repeated over and over in every community on every island. For example, we looked at some just shallow divot, some pit in the ground. But once you know that that pit was once built to the size and shape of a hull of a merchant ship, and people harvesting the sandalwood would lay the loads there so they could measure it before those loads would be loaded onto those ships and taken to China. Or the precast concrete grill that surrounds a 20th century building that was designed at an angle to discourage nesting birds and to slush off the rain to be a self-cleaning building. Or the decorative elements on a downtown corporate headquarters built in the 1920s with exquisite mosaics and ornamental features, some of them with hidden meanings. I'm grateful that I've had some part in helping to amplify those stories and those places and those people. I'm very appreciative that we have an amazing staff, Beth, Andrea, Michelle, Virginia, and a strong, dedicated group of members, partners, volunteers, and trustees. I'm honored to be in the company of the other award recipients tonight who have been celebrated during this program, and I thank and congratulate all of you for the work that you do. And with that, I just want to say I look forward to continuing our work together as we celebrate the beautiful places, the significant stories, and the inspiring works that promote, protect, and preserve Hawaii's historic places. Thank you for this recognition. Thank you for the Pōhaku Award, and mahalo to everyone.
Congratulations to Kiersten and to all of the 2021 Presentation Award honorees. Truly, this has been a great evening. With the spirit of Aloha Aina, let us sing together, Hawaii Aloha. Come on, join us, folks. For you at home, here we go. E Hawaii e gu home hanau e gu home kula iwi nei oli no na ina Hawaii e Hawaii aloha e haole na obio Hawaii nei oli e mai na e ai makani e mama Mau te aloha, no Hawaii, e haole na ubio Hawaii nei, oli mai na e Paepae mau ke aloha, no Hawaii, mau ke aloha, no Hawaii.
On behalf of the Historic Hawaii Foundation, aloha, Malama pono. Ahui ho.